Hello everybody and welcome to episode 18 of The Rebuild with Tottenham Hotspur. Welcome to season 2 of this series. Now we have had a very busy summer. There's been a lot of incomings, including the thumbnail. That's right, Rice Baby has arrived in North London. But first of all, let's talk about the outgoings. So we have had a mammoth summer so far. £354 million has been spent. Who's saying now that they don't back the manager? I mean, that's crazy. Admittedly, some of those are players that we had with a mandatory buy clause at the end of last season. So Lucas Hernandez, Rodrigo de Paul, Huracan and Giovanni Reina are on that list. The rest of them went back to their parent clubs if they had the option to buy, although one has stayed. But we'll talk about the outgoings first of all. There have been lots of outgoings for lots of money, so we are trying to make back what we bought in. So Timo Koppermeyers has joined Real Madrid for a fee rising to £56 million. It didn't work out for him with us, to be honest. I wasn't totally enamoured by him, so yeah, he's gone. Yus Bissouma has joined Napoli for £35 million. This is a controversial one, I know, but with the European quota for needing English players, we had to go out and buy some English players, which we have done, to be fair. A lot of these that have gone European foreign players that wouldn't have counted towards our homegrown quota. So, yeah, that's why we've done that. Tanguy Ndombele, obviously, he was out on loan at Roma last year. That has gone permanent for £28.5 million. Emerson Royale has joined Juventus, as has Richarlison, both for £27 million. Both good deals on them. Joe Rodon has gone to West Ham. That was part of his loan agreement for £15.75 million. Japet Tanganga has joined Leeds for £9.75. Troy Parrott has gone to Hamburg for £2.3. Harry Winks has gone to Austrian Vienna after his contract expired. And Luca Gunter has joined Bristol City, one of the young players. But there are players that have gone out on loan as well. Jet Spence has gone out on loan, as well as a raft of ones that are, they're all right, but they need some more first-team football before we can actually include them in the first-team squad. So, we have bought in 10 players so far. We have one more that we'll talk about later. But let's meet the new 10. And for that, we have to go back to last season. Now, we were looking at Diego Costa last season. Porto wanted his release clause met, which was £60 million. We have paid £36 million for him. That is an absolute bargain. He is definitely a step up to what we have. He will come in as the number 1. So Huracan will go down to number 2, Fraser Forster number 3, and Alfie Whiteman, well, he'll probably just sit there, I would have thought. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what he can do. World-class goalkeeper in a position that we've had some good goalkeepers down the years. I think he's probably the best I've signed. So continuing the Porto theme, we have bought in Mehmet Taremi. He has joined us on a free transfer. Absolute steal, this. 3.5-star striker. Admittedly, he is 32 years of age, but he will be the Fernando Llorente of our team. If people remember Fernando Llorente when he was at Tottenham, he was the backup to Harry Kane. That is what Taremi will do. He can play in the cup competitions. He can give Harry a bit of a rest as well, because he's very, very good. And for a free transfer, I mean, we're paying him 200 grand a week. It is an absolute bargain. Now, we were talking earlier on about the homegrown issue at the football club. And we had that issue with players who were actually trained by Tottenham. Marcus Edwards solves that problem and undoes a very big mistake, I think, as well, from our perspective. We let him go as a kid to Vitória Guimarães on a free transfer. Criminal that we let someone go from our academy who was actually quite good. Never saw any first team action with us. He will this time around. £26 million we paid Sporting Lisbon for his services. It is a very expensive mistake, but it is one that I am happy to rectify. Next man in the door was Luke Thomas. He has joined the football club for £16 million from Leicester City. Again, He's a homegrown player, and he's not bad, to be fair, on paper. £16 million is an absolute bargain, really, for him when you think what Leicester would probably command in real life for someone of 23 coming through their academy. So, yeah, very good on paper. Looking forward to seeing what he can do. Obviously, he will be the backup to Odogi, which means Lucas Hernandez can go across into the centre-back position because we haven't bought a centre-back. Or we have, kind of, but we'll talk about him later. Next man in the door, and the one man to survive the option to buy, is Keenan Hall. He has joined us from Leicester. Now, I said at the time last season when we were talking about him, if we could get a reduction in what we were going to pay, obviously, I think it was £38 million Leicester were asking us, and that was just far too much money. So we are paying £10 million up front, the rest are in add-ons to come to 30. It's not bad for a 25-year-old midfield player. He did really well last season, I thought, with Rodrigo Bentancur. Obviously, we've made a couple of changes in midfield, which we'll see in a second, but he is very much a part of the squad, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Our one and only loan signing so far this summer is Jamie Bayern Gittens. He has joined us from Dortmund on loan for the season. 19-year-old, doesn't have to be registered. That was the main reason why. English, again, he's part of the homegrown contingent that we're trying to bring in, and he ain't bad. He can be a 3.5-star player if he plays his cards right. And obviously, he doesn't have to be registered, as I've mentioned. So, yeah, it's a bit of a no-brainer. If we get an injury out wide, he can definitely fill in ably. Now we move on to a player that I have been trying to sign on Football Manager for donkeys. James Ward-Prowse is at the football club. £60 million, though. We paid a little bit over the odds. A little bit. But, again, a homegrown player. That's why Yves Bissouma was moved out, to make room for James Ward-Prowse. And Common Myers as well, to be fair. 3.5-star player. Set pieces will not be a problem with James Ward-Prowse. He can take a corner. We know he can take a free kick. If we don't score loads of them, I will be really, really annoyed. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what James can do. 29, bit of a gamble, but we'll see what happens. And here is Emerson Royale's replacement, and that is Jeremy Frimpong. He has joined us from Bayer Leverkusen for a fee going to be eventually £55 million. He's 23. He's English, believe it or not, as he was trained by Manchester City, but he's Dutch. He's a Dutch international. Born in the year 2000, make me feel really old, of course. Pace of 18, acceleration of 18. He will be bombing up and down that right-hand side. Him and Pedro Porro together is going to be interesting to see who takes top spot in that. Obviously, he can play on the opposite side as well. So if we get an injury at the left-back position and we need him to cover, he can do that. I always mention I love a player that can play in various different positions, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this kid can do. And last but not least, Declan Rice is a Tottenham Hotspur player. 25 years of age. We have paid West Ham £88 million for him. Admittedly, over time. 31 up front, I think it was, to get his services. I'm surprised that West Ham allowed it to happen. We have taken their captain from them. That will absolutely be incredulous to West Ham fans around the world. But he's a very, very good player. And I'm delighted that he's joined us. He is going to be a very, very much a difference as to whether we can win Premier League titles, whether we can win Champions Leagues as well with Declan in the side. He can play centre-back as well, so he is number 5 in the centre-back. I would have thought we'll start the season with Rice and Ward-Prowse in the centre, because that looks like a match made in heaven between those two. And when I talked about there being one more man coming in the door, the board are sorting out a deal for James Madison, £68 million. They're putting on the table. So we are going to spend north of £400 million this summer, which is absolutely crazy. We don't need to buy another player, probably this year, because of the things we have done. Obviously, Madison's a really good player, can play anywhere across the front three. We'll take a look at the squad shortly so we can see it all in, beautiful high definition. We did try to bring in Eduardo Camavinga. That is not incorrect. He did not want to come to Tottenham. I didn't think he would, but, you know, it was worth a punt as the last man of the 25. But yeah, James Madison looks like he's going to fill that role, and then our squad will be complete. So there is still some decisions to be made on a few. Pape Matar Sarr, what do we do with him? We probably loan him out for the season, I would have thought. He's 21. He'll go and get some first team experience somewhere else. Dane Scarlett will probably do exactly the same thing. Now, Jamie Donnelly, I want to keep him around the football club. I think it will do him good to be around if we need him for Carabao Cup, FA Cup and things like that. Don't really need him and Scarlett together, which is why Dane will probably go. Alfie Whiteman looks like he's on his way out. Where's he going? He's going to Bolton on loan. Fair enough. And Alex Scott, again, he will probably stay around. He's still under 21, so he doesn't need to be registered for the Premier League or the Champions League. So yeah, we'll see if he can get him more game time and see what happens with him. Shall we have a look at the season preview? I think we should. So here is the season preview. Manchester City are the favourites to win the title at 7-5. Liverpool are at 9-2. There is us at 7-1. With the players that we bought in this summer, I am expecting a proper title challenge this time around. And possibly having a go at the other cup competitions as well. The Champions League might be a bit of a stretch, but definitely retaining the FA Cup is a priority, and banishing the demon of last season of losing the Carabao Cup final. Chelsea are at 7-1 as well. Arsenal at 13s, as are Manchester United. 20-1 for Newcastle, who haven't spent a lot of money so far. They've spent a little bit, but not a great deal. We've spent the most, obviously, as you can imagine. Everybody else is bar that. So Leicester, Aston Villa, West Ham at 200. So Brentford, Crystal Palace and Fulham are the sides that have been promoted from the Championship. They were the three that went down when we first took over. So we'll see what they can do back in the Premier League. But yeah, Manchester City, as always, are the side to beat. So our first game of the new season is the Community Shield. Obviously, it's a glorified friendly, so I'm not going to show you that. We are going to come back for our first live game of the new season at St James's Park, taking on Newcastle. So yeah, we'll see the results from the two games with Manchester City and that one with Southampton on the opening weekend of the Premier League season. How will the new players bed in? Find out next time around. It's going to be a fascinating season. Buckle in and enjoy the ride. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you've enjoyed it, please leave a like on it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.